Teal Nation, Strut Nation, it's one more majestic episode, Joe and TD, of America's favorite and Puerto Rico's favorite, TD, coastal sports podcast. We call it The Strut. You got Chili, TD's here, Joe is here, the gang is all here. We got one more person that's going to be here. And I guess by the time they're listening to this, Joe and TD, and they see the show title, they'll probably know who the guest is going to be. But I like to pretend they don't really do that ahead of time and just kind of get surprised when they hear a guest on here. Is that reasonable to y'all?
I think it's very reasonable. Joe, what do you think?
Absolutely. No question about it. Very reasonable.
I though, with cats on here,
and their cats are out the bag. There you go.
And there goes TD. Can't help it.
I was going to say, a great title would be a bump.
He's
in the
a great
road.
producer, isn't he, Joe?
Yeah, just terrible, man. Terrible. A bump in the road, or maybe a bump in the road leaving Crapalachian Stank. I mean, there's so many. So many.
A lot we can talk about Crapalachian Stank, by the way.
There's a whole lot of Crapalachian Stank. We'll get into it, man.
How prophetic was that name? That's all I'm saying.
For those that we're impromptu on this show, by the way. We normally record on Wednesday. So I'll say it. There's a little humanity to this show. The Coastal Clemson game was canceled. Joe and I, the last couple of years, would be heading to Atlanta for our daughters for volleyball. Joe is heading out early for volleyball. I am not with Addison's injury, but a lot of moving parts. Long story short is here we are on a Teal Tuesday recording the show that'll drop on a Wednesday. So just the antics, the impromptu piece, y'all just hang with us. It's going to be a fun show, but there may be some herky-jerky to it that we're not used to.
TD, you managed to work in herky-jerky and antics to what you just got through saying, and I am here for it. That's just terrific. Joe, have you ever had herky-jerky antics?
It's been a long time, Chili. It's been a while. I'm a 55-year-old guy.
Let me ask this question, Joe, just to kind of couch that in our next topic here is, would you describe your March Madness picks as herky-jerky antics?
I think my picks felt like our baseball team leaving Appalachian State, I'm afraid. They're not very good. I was in two different brackets this year. Auburn losing killed me in the Strut podcast bracket, so I'm losing that one. I'm not going to win, I don't think. But I do have 3 of 4 Final Four teams still left. And I was in the friend of Bob. Bob Doyle invited me into his, and I'm still not in bad shape there. I think all 4 Final Four teams are still available there. But my brackets are kind of like, the last part of Crapalachian Stank. They stank.
Hey, or as my dad would say, the cattywampus.
So I don't want to brag because when I was ahead in the bowl pick'em, I started off leading the 3 of us, and then I just kind of fell by the wayside. And Joe, worked his magic, his Nexus ingenuity when it came to his picks, TD. And I fell by the wayside. However, I am feeling really good about where I'm at because March Madness is my favorite thing. And I got to be honest with you, in the whole bracket, I'm in 4th place, first place on this podcast. I'm just saying.
Good for you, Chili.
Hey.
What's next?
Well, let me just say one thing real quick. Now, we have the creative nicknames, TD.
With that being said, right?
Yeah. With that being said. Now, I want to tell you this. I entered 2, Joe, because I know we all entered multiple ones on the bowl pick'em. The one that I entered that I really thought more about was called Chili's Slam Dunks, and it's not doing well. However, the second one I entered is called Gonna Dovetail Off That. That one is now in 4th place.
Dovetail. There you go.
Congratulations to Matt. He says he's from Dirty Myrtle. He is in 1st place. His winner is Iowa State overall. Chris, I don't know who Chris is, but his pick set TD is called Data Doesn't Lie. He's in 2nd place. Joe, he chose Connecticut to win. Then we got Cliff Nagel with Marquette and me in 4th place. I picked the Tar Heels to go all the way.
Well, I think I have Houston going all the way, and they barely got by Texas A&M, barely, but they're still alive. I have 3 teams left to potentially get to the Final Four. So Auburn losing to Yale was hilarious. SEC going down, it just means more to them. Apparently not, but I had Auburn. I had Auburn winning, but I was so glad to see Yale beat them. It was hilarious.
T, don't you feel better when Joe revels in somebody else's misery and not one of ours when he's beating somebody else? Like he laughed at the SEC, but he's not laughing at me and you. when he's
Well,
beating us in something.
The Greg Sankeys of the world who want to get rid of all the mid majors because it gets in the way of all the 16 and 15 teams out of the so-called big conferences. Too bad, guys. Too bad. That's what makes tournament magic so great.
I'll offer my TD's 2 cents. If Greg Sankey just wants 2 conferences, let him go have it. And what he'll find is in about 2 to 3, 4 years, there's a whole bunch of people like us out there who I don't watch it. I'm from the South. I love ACC, SEC, Sunbelt football. I say I love it. I enjoy watching it, but I'm one of those spiteful jokers you want to do that? No, by all means, go ahead. I'll gladly watch my Sunbelt on ESPN Plus, and I will refuse to give any airtime to any of your conferences just so you don't get that piece of my time. So, but I would offer this. I bet there are others out there that if something like that happened, contrary to their belief, there's been 1 or 2 mainstream media outlets, Joe, Chili, that tried to go a little too far one direction and found out real quick that don't fly very well. And that's all I'm gonna say. They had to come back to reality a little bit on how they think. But I tell you what, though, Chili, if Joe wants to revel in his tournament wins or his tournament losses, I can think
tournament misery.
Your tournament misery. I know of a great place that will welcome him with open arms, great chicken fingers, and cold beer. No longer is the most annoying waitress there. She's not there any longer.
Not anymore. She's not.
Joe, where is this fantastic slice of heaven that you can go and enjoy your misery or your victory?
Well, Sarah's no longer there, but if you want to go do that, if you're miserable like me with your picks, or if you want to go watch the games coming up, the Sweet 16, or if you want to go watch Coastal play ULM, but they'll have that on down at Hanley's Pub, CCU class of 2002, the official pub of the Strut Podcast, located Carolina Forest. We will see you at your local pub, Hanley's in Carolina Forest, 3873 Renee Drive, Myrtle Beach, 843-903-4904. We will see you at your local pub, Hanley's in Carolina Forest.
So smooth. And you can't say this is improvised because we're seasoned veterans on this stuff at this point. I'm really proud of our progress. TD, Joe, I'm just basking in it. It's great.
I got a question though.
Go ahead.
We are a seasoned veteran, this is a question for you too. Here's a question for you. What season would you have on you if you are a seasoned veteran?
I would be crushed red pepper flakes.
Okay, Joe, how about you? What do you? What seasoning comes to mind? If you're a seasoned veteran, what season comes to mind?
I like some nature seasoning, man. I mean, just the regular stuff that you can hardly find in the grocery store these days. A little garlic powder, with garlic salt, man.
There you go.
Garlic goes with anything.
All right.
PD?
I'm gonna go with a little Himalayan salt, cracked brown pepper, black pepper. Excuse me. I'm gonna do a little paprika. Maybe do a little bit of thyme. Little thyme in there. Shake all that up, get and rub it in. Maybe even put a little cinnamon in there. I don't know. Maybe if you love
Thyme is on your side, TD.
Oh, hey, look. Just rub all that together and massage that thing in. Put it on the smoker and let's ride.
This show has gone off the rails quick. Let's go to other sports action. Beach volleyball they won 4 in the Sun Belt midseason tournament. They defeated Stephen F. Austin, ULM, Mercer, and Southern Miss. So beach volleyball, we said it last week and the week before too. Beach volleyball is on fire. The Sandy Shants are burning it up. Lacrosse is moved to 5-4 on the season. They defeated High Point 17-12. Women's tennis lost to Georgia Southern 5-4. Track and field, men and women, will be at the Raleigh Relays the 28th through the 30th. That's this coming weekend. Men's golf down in Bulls Bay, close to Mount Pleasant, where I'm at, came in 11th at the Hootie tournament down there. And the last thing I have that's been in action lately, because we had a couple sports that were going to be in action this coming week, and some that didn't have but a couple more weeks till they came on. Men's tennis lost 4-0 to Campbell, and I had that happening yesterday. I feel like I missed something. Y'all catch anything?
I was just going to add something to beach volleyball. They've won 9 in a row now. That's the second longest winning streak in school history. And they've got the Chanticleer Challenge this weekend. So Sandy Shants wanted to add that little addendum to it. And I think TD, I want to tee him up for a milestone this weekend, right? What happened up there? Not everything on the mountain was bad, right? What happened this weekend on the mountain?
Coach Gilmore, and as our guest enters into the green room, the teal room to join us, Coach Gilmore, I know that he's going to talk about too, was able to earn his 1,100th career victory. And let me tell you something: is as challenging as the week was to stomach what happened. He got his 1,100th win. There's Joe Katz. As challenging as it was, he did get that. And let me tell you something: there are some neat things that happened this weekend, and that was one of them. That can't be lost on all the challenges this past 4 or 5 games. But very, very. Hey, let me tell you something. There are not many coaches in a whole lot of sports that can say they've gotten 1,100 wins like that. That's awesome. So, Chili, do you want to enter straight out of the?
Don't let Joe get off missing a seg here.
Oh, wait a minute, Joe, you're supposed to seg Chili for.
Oh,
No.
goodness gracious. I'm just now noticing
Did
that.
Joe miss one, TD?
I did miss one. I'm totally unprepared. I'm sitting here looking at Cats, and he looks like a green bean sitting there. Unfortunately, he still don't look all that great. We got to get into Cats here in a minute. But first, I gotta seg old Chili here for this one. So if I have something going on with my knee, which I've had a lot lately, my left knee has just been giving me fits ever since November. You got something going on, Chili? Where do you go to have it fixed?
Left knee, right knee. If you got enough money, go see David Turner, Coastal Class 97 of Impact Chiropractic. Practicing in Conway for 20 years, Dr. Turner believes in a proactive, wellness-based approach to achieving optimal health and function for the entire family. At Impact Chiropractic, we work hard to grow healthy kids rather than fix damaged adults. 210 Singleton Ridge Road in Conway, impactchiro.com, 843-347-9103. Before we start talking to Cats, I got a message for you. Are you ready?
Oh boy.
This is from my dad.
Oh, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Joe Katz to the Strut.
Joe, how you feeling, dude?
I'm good. I'm on the bend around the bend, around the mountain.
We might have fixed Joe's microphone here. Might get Cat's audio kind of going a little bit here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
There
there
you
you
go.
go. There you
Yeah,
go.
there you
go.
Oh yeah.
I got a new phone. I know how that works.
Hey, there you
I've
go,
got
brother.
the most updated version of the Samsung Galaxy there is. I was like 7 behind, so I don't know how it works.
You're 7
Hey, there we
galaxies
go.
away.
You're Lima Charlie now. So how you feeling?
Oh man.
Well, we came around the mountain, and I think we're in Atlanta, and it's Tuesday, and I just caught the tail end of that segment there, and yeah, it's been a rough week.
I don't think everybody knows Joe, by the way. Joe. I don't know if the general public knows some of the challenges outside of dropping 2 out of 3 up there in Boone.
Yeah, and they don't correlate with one another, so don't mix that up, and nor will there be excuses ever made when you don't play your best or put yourself in a position to win baseball games, which we did on multiple occasions over the weekend and back on Tuesday. We just couldn't figure it out. I think from a pitching standpoint, if you watched any of those 4 games, no doubt about it. Yeah, so after we picked up the back end of the doubleheader win, 4 hours and 40 minutes, 8 hours and 12 minutes of baseball. On Sunday altogether. We jumped in the bus, got some food. We're about halfway down the mountain, and then all you start hearing hooting and hollering in the back. You think it might be just fun and games, and then you realize things are coming out of orifices where they shouldn't come out of in multiple locations. We'll just leave it at that. And it wasn't just 1, it wasn't 2, it wasn't 3, it wasn't 4. It was 4 times 4. And about half the bus is outside laying half naked on concrete in 30-degree temperatures, rolling around like fish out of water. I wasn't one of those. Fortunately, I made it to at least the hotel. Well, then I walked out of the bus and had to make a quick run for it. But the men's restroom on the lobby floor was already occupied, so I had to use the ladies' room. So I'm admitted to it. I used the ladies' room at 1:30 in the morning at some hotel outside of Clemson. and it was brutal. And it's been a brutal 24 hours, I think, for a lot of these guys. So here we are. We're getting ready for the back end. So we've hit bottom here on this road trip. There's only one way to go, boys, and that's up.
So many puns. So many puns.
So for those that don't understand, when I came on earlier and I said the bump in the road was my reference to as how we played, because if we don't play better on the bump and out the bullpen, it's going to be very challenging for us. But Joe Cashin, I can see his face right now. It was a bump in the road leaving Crap-a-Latchin stank. Like, for those that don't know, we got a bad meal. The team got a bad meal, and unfortunately, they were the recipients of a challenging digestive situation that ultimately created some really challenging situations. That's all we're going to say. It was a crappy situation.
And probably a blessing in disguise that we didn't have to play Clemson tonight, too. We can push that game. We can move that game a little bit to the right and get them when we're feeling a little bit better. The weather
we would have had probably half the guys available.
Yeah, it was a small blessing. And for those who don't know, again, there was an ailment that hit the team. The ones that listen to this podcast tomorrow, to Joe's point, the rain, the good Lord was looking out for the team. We will take the blessings on ahead of this Easter weekend, gentlemen. We will take the blessing. Joe, you were there. We watched it. We've got some feedback, but tell us what you saw from NC State to App State.
I mean, the bats are relentless. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they'll continue to put up runs so long as you give them a chance to put up runs. I mean, as big of numbers that the opposing teams put up, this weekend. I mean, hey, we scored 6 runs in a frame more times than App State did this weekend. We did it 3 times. We only won one of those games. If you're looking at the odds and you talk about the baseball gods, I mean, not too many times you're going to do what our offense has done, particularly in a coastal program where you're going to put up those sorts of numbers and lose baseball games. So obviously it just goes back to our inability to throw strikes and get shut down innings, and whether it be in the beginning of games, through the middle of games, or the back end of games. At this point, it seems like things they didn't work last week, but that's 1 week, and that's why we got another one coming up on Thursday at Monroe. And I think actually these last couple of days, I don't think Gilly got the stomach bug, so I was eavesdropping a little earlier, and him and Coach Bev and the pitching staff were kind of having a heart-to-heart, and just trying to get some things straightened out. And I think by and large, those guys are going to respond at the end of the day. I mean, we got a real young team, particularly in the pitching staff, and every pitcher is essentially a newcomer, with the exception of Eichhoff and Schaefer. And Schaefer's been real good for us here early on. Has hit a little bump in the road. Last couple appearances, but all in all, I mean, he's been one of our most consistent relievers out of the pen. Riley has 2 back-to-back starts that he's gone, nearly 5 innings. So it's an upward trend as compared to where he's been for the last couple of starts. So, pitching wise, we're going to figure some things out. I think some of those freshmen there's a couple of phrases that come to mind that are not probably broadcast safe here. So I'll just, the freshman pitchers did very well, immediately. And now they're just kind of trying to build that feeling back after getting roughed up a little bit, and trying to find that confidence back. It's sort of like not having a girlfriend for a little while after you got the nicest looking girl in school, and you got to build that confidence back up. So we're trying to, get those guys right and figure it out.
We got to have Cats on more often.
Hey, man, it's great.
Cats, I had a question. Leaving Appalachian State, I know it's kind of hard to measure the team as far as, or how do they feel about bouncing back against ULM and stuff because of everything that happened. But you said they had a heart-to-heart with the pitching staff, all that kind of stuff. Can you kind of give us your impression of what you think? Not that wins and losses coming up against ULM, but just overall performance-wise, do you think it could be a good wake-up call for us leaving Appalachian State?
I think that was. I think well, one, we're on the road for the first time, so that you know you have to. As much as an excuse that might be, we're young, or it's our first time we've been on a bus together. Usually, this stomach bug hits us in Louisiana. I've been traveling with this team for about 7 years now, and every other year we go to Louisiana, whether it be Lafayette or Monroe, someone comes up with a stomach bug. I remember a couple years they were bussing people back and forth from the hotel to the stadium in Lafayette because guys couldn't hold down their lunch. Teddy Sharkey, they had to carry him off the field after warm-ups because he was sweating through his jersey so bad they had to put him like in a cold tub in the hotel. We were flying guys from Myrtle Beach to Lafayette midway through the series just to get enough guys on the staff to pitch for the weekend. So again, that sounds like a big excuse, but there's a lot of different elements that have played into it. And I think actually, as bad as this whole thing was, you kind of we hit the reset button. We didn't play today. We would have loved to play Clemson and all that, but we hit the reset button, and now we've got 4 more games on this road trip. We'll go to Wilmington after Easter, but you get 3 in Monroe, 3 winnable games, and if we get some pitching, there's no doubt that we're going to be in position to win all 3.
A baseball season can't. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you're going to hit some. You're going to hit some bumps in the road, like we talked about. I mean, I think it was big to get that last one. At least you leave, and I know what happened after you left, but I mean, at least you leave not having lost all the first 4 games on the road. You feel pretty good about. You at least got the last one right, so it's not a total loss there. And getting that last one was big. I mean, a couple of plays in that game. Graham Brown. I mean, he throws the guy out in the 11th inning. That's potential winning run. That ball's right there. I mean, it's not even close. They're trying to score. It's not even close. And, of course, Derek Bender had a big time series at the plate. But at least we got the last one. So you kind of feel a little bit better about the weekend. And now, as you say, we can move forward and go to ULM.
Funny thing about Graham Brown, last year against Appalachian State at home, he gunned out a runner in the top of the 9th inning to save the go-ahead run from scoring. So pretty much exact same play played out 1 year ago against the same team. I mean, we got some positive contributions up and down. Anytime you play a doubleheader, the coaches always say better to win the back end than the front end. It almost makes like you feel like you lost the day if you win the first one and lose the back one from just a mental standpoint. And given the grind that it was to pull out that win, I think there's no doubt some positives. Well, at least to some good mojo, which was quickly, ran into a brick wall about halfway down the mountain. And again, with that mountain and the twists and turns, I mean, you just heard it in the back. And when someone tells you to pull, Gilly ain't stopping the bus for much. He stopped the bus, and that means it was something. And dude, there was dudes looking like just before the Incredible Hulk turned total green. That's what it started to look like, and it was that. I mean, that's just, unfortunately. We're talking more about that than baseball, but I think, like I said, it's actually a good reset for us where we're able to kind of collect ourselves and get ourselves healthy. I mean, you play 20 games at home and then you go do it on the road. There's a lot of different things that play into it, from a health standpoint, from a soreness, sleeping and not in your own bed kind of standpoint, getting used to. So, I think overall, even though the record doesn't show it, I think no doubt the learning experience will be useful in the weeks ahead.
Yeah. Cats, let me offer this to you real quick. Kind of the TD's data doesn't lie, but it can't be misdeceiving moment. Is you correct me if I'm wrong, but you touched on a little bit, and I'm glad you ultimately teed it up. We've averaged about 8 to 10 walks in our last 4 or 5. Getting back to the JMU series. So before I do that, by the way, from perspective with Gilly's 1100th win, it was also the first series loss we've had since 2022. Let that sink in. We have not lost a series. So Teal Nation, Strut Nation, Coastal baseball fans, we have not lost a series since 2022. That's the first thing. Second thing is
April.
And it was yeah. And so we're early in the year we were walking some folks, but we were walking 4 to 6. Now we're averaging 8 to 10, and we're clustering some of those walks. We're also working from behind instead of ahead. That's one thing from a pitching perspective. And I think this season will go as the bullpen and the bump will take us because the offense is going to be there. Even in our losses this year, outside of the 5-3 loss to Duke, we're scoring 8, 10, 12 runs a game. That being said, too, something that App State did not, if you can touch on this for a minute, Joe, Chill, this is something I found intriguing. App State was the most aggressive team with shifting players, zero counts, ahead or behind counts. I noticed that when I watched the game, they were more aggressive in shifting. Everybody, even in the infield, to squeezing the gaps in the outfit. I have not seen a team aggressive in baseball this year, but even against us, you were there. Can you even touched on that sometimes? Can you touch on some of that for me?
Well, that's the thing about radio, right, Cashin? You have to paint the picture for the fans out there. So no help if you tell them, the ball gets hit to shortstop when the shortstop's playing at second base, right? So you need to let the listeners know. Even those TV guys don't make notice of that when they're, giving you the description as to how it all plays out there. They don't have to do much because of the visual. We get to, dig down into the bowels of what it means to describe how a game is played. But nonetheless. The fact of the matter is, I mean, you walk 8 to 10 guys a game, you hit 3 guys a game, you put 13 runners on base for free, you're going to lose a lot of those baseball games, nearly all those baseball games. And as you said, that's the difference between 4 and, in fact, what was it? NC State's game, 7th and 8th inning. We put 4 guys on base in that game, 4 runs scored, and all 4 of those guys that got put on base. So, that's the difference in a lot of ball games at any level of baseball. In terms of the shift, I mean, I think for up and down, like you said, every hitter almost nearly had a shift, with the exception of maybe a Dooley, and even there, they probably shaded him a little bit more left to the line, and in a couple steps the other way. But I mean, outside of that, yeah, you're right. Bodine, they shifted more, and they're starting to shift him more. On the left-handed side when he hits. Bender goes against the shift. So even though the numbers say, I think he had 3 hits the other day all to the right side. So, he'll go against the shift. Graham Brown's a pull guy. They like to shift. Antonacci, they can't really shift him because he spreads the ball around.
Sprays it.
Yeah,
he sprays it. He sprays it.
And he gets on pace. All right, enough with that innuendo, man, because my stomach is still a little queasy. Any bathroom references or even off-the-cuff things.
I didn't even think about it, man. I'm sorry.
No,
like I keep saying, stuff just kind of slides in there.
I didn't even think about it, man. Because you're right. Because I'm thinking he's a spray hitter, right? Like he will.
No, I know where you're going at.
Yeah, he hits an inside to the right field. He'll hit an outside to the left. It just depends on. But I just noticed when you did a great job of really illustrating that for those that didn't understand. Like they were acutely like there's a shift, and then there's like all 3 guys on one side of the bag, or almost all 4 on one side of the bag. I mean, it was until really. Barthol laid a bunt down. I'm like, that's something in my notes. I'm like, we are going to have to get creative with purposely trying to bunt or purposely trying to hit backside to bring. Because if I'm ULM, I go back and look what App State did. They took away, and what I tracked. Yours is probably way better than mine. 9 or 10 hits easily this weekend. Because of the absolute overtness. I mean, they put all 4 infielders multiple times, Joe and Chili. I know y'all saw it on either side of the bag. Like it was insane. Oh, so obviously the first baseman, but even they brought in like the outfielders. They squeezed the outfielders into the gaps, unlike I've never seen before. They left the lines completely open at times, which was nuts. That was new. But they took away 8, 9, 10 hits easy by doing that.
In terms of the outfield alignment, kind of like a note, they were playing deep and pitch in the middle. I think a lot of that has to do with their ballpark and that it plays very deep into the gaps and into center field. So,
fair point.
I mean, if you're not going to get one down the line, it's going to be a double. If you put one down the line, you put one in the gap and you're not positioned properly, it's a triple. So you're talking about maybe an extra base, and that could potentially be the outfield shift. In terms of the infield, like you said, I mean, countless occasions, as you mentioned, you had 3 guys on one side, and then literally the other infielder on the left side or the right side, depending on where the shift was going. I mean, you're talking 5 feet behind second base and either to the left or the right of it. So I mean, right there.
Yeah.
You're right. So I mean, but having said that, I mean, we did get bunt situations down. Every time we lay down a bunt, it seems like we pick up a hit. Even in sacrifice situation, bunt turns into a hit. We have strayed away from bunting the baseball. The way we have in years past, there's no doubt. And I think there's a couple of guys in that lineup who'd be better suited and would probably see their averages tick up a bit if they added that to their repertoire at the plate more often. I mean, you're not going to tell Blake Barthel to bunt the way he's been seeing the ball as of late, but he's one of those guys that, if he hits a slide or things, but to me, he's one of those guys who will do it himself. I think there are some other guys that might be needed a nudge because when there's 6 or 7 guys in that lineup that are tanking 10 homers and, driving in 25 RBIs, you're scoring 12, 13 runs a game anyway. Those guys say, you know what? I'm swinging away because I want to be like one of those guys, even though they're not necessarily maybe fitted to be that guy. But when you're scoring 13 runs a game, how are you going to argue with that?
Fair point. Fair point.
That's a fair point for sure.
Fair point.
Hey, Chili, by the way, before we came into that segment, that was one hell of a read, man. That's one hell of a live endorsement read right there.
Cats, I've been auditioning forever with Joe Cashin about working my way in somewhere, somehow, with the football or basketball broadcast. So I'm just, just saying.
Well,
We got
Cashin,
Cashin
has this.
We got to get
Cashin
cut
has
some
the
spots, maybe.
He's got the 707. The 707 spot is his.
And I just cut a new one today, as a matter of fact, because they've opened their new place. So the next time you get a radio broadcast, you're going to hear a new 707 ad. How about that?
I'm excited for you, Joe.
The reference to the little Italian jingle that he played for me as he came in, his dad and me, when I worked in Wilmington, his dad would come to a trivia night at an Italian restaurant every Wednesday night for, I swear, almost 2 years straight with him and a couple of his buddies who would go to the cigar shop around the corner. And there's many bottles of wine and stogies and beers drank with his dad from yesteryear before I even knew who Chili or who the Strut podcast was.
That's awesome.
Well,
man.
it's cool because, Joe, I got to be so close to those guys when I go visit my parents that I started calling them all like Uncle Bugsy, Uncle so-and-so, and all that kind of stuff, and I know you know how they are. You walk in, you get all these hugs. They're handing you a cigar. Hey, let's go do this. We're going to go eat this. It's kind of, I'm all for it. My favorite is Italian food. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Can you imagine his dad walking into like a New York cigar bar? And that's pretty much what it was. Good cultural mix-up right there. I can tell you that.
Joe,
my dad's talking about grits, and they're talking about something that's totally not grits, and it's a really fun conversation to listen to.
Well, we like our grits al dente, so don't worry about it.
Hey, there you go.
Cats, you going to Monroe this weekend?
Oh yes.
What do you see out of that crowd? What kind of food you going to get?
It's crawfish season, and wouldn't you know it? The norovirus stomach bug isn't the best on.
Oh, well, what a place to go after having this happen to you, huh?
Terrible time to get a stomach bug is when you're going to go be able to enjoy some crawfish and some, bottom feeders. I'm hoping to muscle through it. Monroe's not quite like Lafayette. One, they don't hate us as much. They don't have rooster flags flying upside down to their tailgate like they do in Lafayette. In Monroe, it's a little bit more of a laid back and, just a lesser crowd up there in the top of the boot. They will have some great food, though, for us. They always do cook well for opposing teams there. I trust them more than I trust a boxed lunch from the school in Boone. I can tell you that.
That's not some culprits up there. There's some culprits behind this whole thing. I guarantee
I'm
that.
just saying.
Wait a minute. So the lunch box, the box lunch came from the university?
No. Well,
I was going to say,
someone who couldn't get a job after graduating with a degree from App State and then went to get a job at one of the local fast food restaurants.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Ooh, that's good. So, hey, Strut Nation, Till Nation, remember, if you're going to Boone, pack your own damn lunch. Don't eat in Boone. Go over to Blowing Rock. They're actually pretty nice over there. Go to Blowing Rock. So,
I love Blowing Rock.
Take some Pepto-Bismol with you, too. Whatever else you need.
Cats, what do you think about Monroe this weekend? What are some things that our fans and listeners need to be aware of?
I expect Meckley to have a bounce back start. I was a little surprised in the way he kind of lost it after 2 innings the other day. But I mean, it was the weather wasn't necessarily the best. But again, both teams had to deal with the conditions. I expect him to have a better outing than he did last Friday. I expect our pitching staff to step up this weekend. They have to. I mean, just to instill some confidence within themselves, let alone the rest of the club. I think there's never any finger point. You win games as a team, and you lose games as a team. I mean, but the numbers are what they are, and we see them. You score 8, 9, 10 runs a game, you should be winning 95% of those games. And traditionally, through the last 30 years, we have. There are numbers on that, and it's ridiculous when you look at. That's the one thing that Gilly and the coaching staff always talk about. I mean, they put 4 or 5 different things, and they've done it over, like I said, the entirety of this staff being together. The core and Schill and Coach Knoll and Gilly. That when they've put together numbers that if you hit those boxes, you're going to win. Like I said, about 90% of the time, and it's a rarity that we hit those boxes and we lose. So this is kind of an anomaly here this first week, and I would expect it to turn around. I expect the backs to stay hot. I just hope everyone is able to get back into some fighting form here in the next couple of days. I mean, I was looking at Fluky. He's already a featherweight at 6'4", 200 pounds. And I'm like, Fluky, you lost all that weight you put on during the off season. He's like, man, I put on like 6 pounds. I know I put you at 206. I was like, we need you at like 220 by next year, bro. And he'll get there. And that's another great thing that this program does. I mean, they'll put mass and weight and they'll get you ready. I can't believe a guy like Fluky wasn't recruited heavier than from what I understand. Like Coastal was one of his only suitors, and large part was because he wasn't filled out and they didn't think he had a good secondary pitch. I'm like, well, and I guess if he had a good secondary pitch, he might be pitching in the minor leagues right now because he'd get some sort of contract out of high school. But we get high. I think a couple of guys got IVs yesterday, so I think they're on the go around. They get the CCU player treatment. The broadcast staff, they're like, yeah, you got to pay for your own. I'm not paying. I'm not throwing $100 out there. I'll just drink ginger ale and soup. And I'll make it
Pedialyte, man. Pedialyte.
Who needs an IV? I mean, come on. Back in the day, did grandma have IVs? And then she went out there and cooked dinner and made everything good for the whole family. So if grandma could do it, I could do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's called grit.
Tape? Yeah, this tape and all this pregame, the body armor. Who needs all that kind of stuff? Take it in the elbow, right?
There you go.
A couple highlights real quick. You've got Artsberger, Winfield, Lunsford, and Weatherby. Johnson and Hager kind of are some names that are in their lineup. And as far as pitching, it looks like we were looking at it real quick. You've got the guys that have thrown the most innings. You've got a Bo Blanchard to a Daniel Gonzalez, a Davis Oswald, a Parker Shea. And then you get down to Justin Robinson and Joey Cirilli, Barlow, Menard. I wonder if he's related to the other Menards down there because Menard's kind of a Louisiana name, and they got into racing, by the way, the Menards parts. And then Brewer. Those are some of the pitching staff names too that we've looked into. That it's interesting. Some of these guys have some high ERAs. Maybe a good time too for our bats to stay hot, like you said. But then could be a chance for our guys on the bump and in the bullpen to a get right weekend. We really need 3. Really need 3 here. Just call it what it is.
We do. Having said that, though, I mean, every weekend, no matter what the record is, no matter what it says on paper, the Sun Belt Conference, and it seems as if no matter who we play, I mean, we're going to get their best effort. I mean, look at James Madison this past weekend. They got rolled over 2 out of 3 at home against Texas State. They played out there wazoo against us. In a lot of cases, teams, and pretty much every case, we look at it as, oh, they're the next team on the schedule. Other teams look at us and say, oh, it's Coastal. Circle it on the calendar and let's go up. Let's play out. So that's every weekend in the Sun Belt. So a pitcher is going to pitch out of his ass on a Friday night, then with a 10.00 ERA, he's going to throw 7 innings against us. It's just lefty that hasn't gotten out all season. He's going to throw 7 innings and then come back in a doubleheader and throw another 7 against us somehow and be able to grit it out. I mean, that's what the guy in Louisiana did. Last year in the Sun Belt tournament, the guy threw 200 pitches in a game and shut us out, or 200 pitches over 2 games on the same day in the Sun Belt tournament. And we're going to see that guy again. He threw against LSU earlier this year and shut them down. So it's just, they come to play against us. And I think it takes a little bit of a learning curve to get that feeling amongst, some of those newcomers that they got to be ready to go every time they take the field. I mean, look at Barthel. Not only, I don't know if you guys were watching the tail end of the doubleheader. I don't know how many people were. It's, Sunday night. 8 hours of baseball. There in one of the last innings, Barthel got a ball hit down the right field line. That dude ran about 90 yards to get that ball, I swear. And somehow that ball was hit a mile high, and somehow that dude stuttered, stepped his feet, and caught it like a big legger, like it was opening day in the second inning. And I was just so impressed. That's the level that you got to be at all the time if you're going to host regionals and playing super regionals against it. Against the type of talent that we play against, and even the Sun Belt Conference talent that we play against, they want us. So that's the type of mindset you got to have, every time you put the uniform on for us. There's no doubt about it.
Gaz, we appreciate you coming by, and you've got a open invitation whenever you get a chance, and you want to just pop on with us. We're always happy to have you because you bring an insight for baseball that we haven't covered baseball until now, and you coming on with us like this and sharing what you know as far as, like, I guess I don't want to say behind the scenes, because you did share some stuff that we weren't expecting. I'll be honest, but at the same time, it was good to hear that. And anytime you want to come on and just share baseball stuff, we're more than happy to have you. But I want you to get off. I want you to get some crackers, some Gatorade, some soup, broth, whatever it is you need to recuperate. We also need a healthy Joe Katz on the broadcast, because I'd rather listen to the radio broadcast and watch the TV broadcast. I'll be honest with you.
That's what I'm talking about.
No pickled pig's feet, by the way. No pickled pig's feet.
Oh God, my kidneys are saying no, Joe. No,
Joe.
No, but I echo what Chili just said. I'd rather listen to you.
Well, hey, let's we can make this next road trip that we're on. Why don't we do this on the road? Because I can relax. I don't got my kid yelling in the back, the dog barking. I'm going to yell at my wife. I could sit there and relax and talk, come up with the creative stuff. My mind's not going in 5 million directions.
Well,
that's a win right there.
Even though Travis, he does all the homework for the upcoming road trip before I do it. So it's like, I don't even know half those names he was talking about. Come on, I got to talk about
your broadcast.
I got to talk about bridge collapses, Puff Daddy, and all the other stuff going on in the world today.
Oh man,
we did that pre-show. We didn't record it.
We did that pre-show. We were trying to stay away from politics. We figured we talk about baseball and here, cats. We'll tune in to WRNN 99.5 to listen to Puff Daddy and Bridges and whatever. You just sit back and we just hope it's more of a it's more of a Malax night for you, right? It's more of just.
I appreciate that.
It's more. I hope it's not a crappy situation.
Well, Cash it. Maybe Travis could be our producers from now on, like those TV guys where they present them all the information and they just rip and read it, rather than the radio guys that do all the research.
Did you say rip and read it?
Rip and read, man. Way to go.
Thank you, Kat. We appreciate you coming by, man.
Thank you. Deal.
I think people need to go back and listen to this show twice, and I'll tell you why. I think there could be a good little drinking game in this where you go back every time TD or Joe or me or even Cass during that segment can go back. You hear somebody making a pun about the topic at hand, leaving Crappalachian stank, and just take a quick drink and boom, there you go.
Dude, let me tell you something. So for our listeners, we weren't going to talk about it too much. We were going to hint to it, but all seriousness, he was polite, I think, with what we're aware of that transpired, man. All seriousness, here's all the good health and everything to those kids and those coaches, man. That could have turned into, all jokes aside, that could turn into a much more worse situation if they had to play tonight.
Yeah.
To Joe's point. Well, so, and again, and I wasn't being funny. I was being very sincere spiritually. That was a blessing, a big blessing.
I'm not sure, even with good weather, they'd have been able to play. If what Kat says is true, if half those guys wouldn't have been able to dress out anyway, I'm not so sure they would. Even with sunny skies and 80-degree weather, I'm not so sure they'd have been able to play. Haven't heard that, because I don't know. I mean, if you're Gilly, are you gonna get with Clemson and say, hey, look, we got this going on. Let's see if we can't shift this game to the right. I imagine they would have accommodated that, but.
Clemson's pretty good about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a great relationship with them. I mean, at least they're the one team in the state that'll play us home and home. I mean, they have no fear. They'll play us. So the other one,
Not so much.
You know the story, not so much about them. But I also want to mention something too, kind of bring up something, touch on something that Katz mentioned about teams, in this conference are really good. And I think TD, you put this in the chat when I was looking at the Warren Nolan, the RPI right now. We got 8 teams in the top 77. JMU's 34, right? App State moved up to 51. They moved up 9 spots in the RPI. And you got us at 24, South Al 58, Louisiana, who's won 7 in a row. They lead the conference right now, tied with Georgia State at 5-1. They're at Texas State this weekend. That's a big series. They're at 61, Georgia State 63, Texas State 76, Old Dominion 78. So, I mean, you got a bunch of teams. 10 out of 14 teams are really good this season, and we're going to take teams' best shot. We really are. He's right.
Yeah, and really, no matter who we play, I mean, you could have a team who's got the worst RPI, but they really want to beat us. So that's going to be across the board all season long. Regular season tournament, it doesn't matter. We're going to get everyone's best shot every single night, every at bat, every pitch. They're going to be coming after us.
Yeah, and we got to be ready.
Well, I'll offer this to you. Go look at, if you get a chance for those to go to Warren Nolan, Joe, Chili, to your point.
Yeah.
Go look at Q1, Quadrant 1, which is the top 50 schools, right? So, granted, not to pick on Louisiana, but they've only played 2 games in Quadrant 1. To give you perspective, Coastal's played 6 games. So we're 3-3. Texas State's played 9 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
App State's played 4 games. Other schools have played 8 games, like Old Dominion, right? So why does that matter? That means, I mean, you play 4, 6, 8, 9 games versus Q1. Well, I'm not quick with math, but we've only played about 22, 23 total ball games, right? So you've played about 45% of your games, potentially to 35% of your games against Q1 talent. That's pretty solid. If you just perspective. So for folks who want to know where this data is at, WarrenNolan.com does a really solid job of tracking that. You can actually click on the team. Like right now, as bad as the week was, we're still 18-6 overall. We're 25 in RPI. We're 29th in strength of schedule. Our quadrant 1 plus 2 overall, which is top 100. We're 8-5 overall versus top 100 teams, right? So again, keep a perspective on that. We need to take care of business this weekend versus ULM, though. So,
Joe, we were just talking to Joe Katz, and he was, I guess, he said he was in Atlanta. Is that right?
Yeah.
And they were headed toward Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Having left App State, that's covering a lot of ground. If you're looking to purchase TD, that's covering a lot of ground. I caught it, Joe. Who do you recommend if you're looking to make a purchase of a lot of ground? TD, can you point us in the right direction?
Well, I'll tell you who won't sell you a sack of land. It's Dan Sign Realty. Dan Sign at Dunes Realty Sales. Is real estate done right. Look at it down there, 128 Atlantic Avenue in Garden City. I tell you what, Dan's a class of 2001 alum, and he's super proud of this show and super proud of what the university stands for and what they're doing down there. You can find Dan and all the things that he covers at www.dansignrealtor.com. Toll free at 888-889-9312. Again, Dan Sign at Dunes Realty Sales. Real estate done right. He won't treat you crappy, gentlemen. He will not treat you crappy.
Joe, I think after TD's read and what Joe Katz said, I think TD and I are kind of ready for prime time at this point. I think we need to be doing board op work or something. What do you think?
I think some voiceover work is the next thing in line. I think that is in order for you guys, what you guys are doing right now. I mean, you've taken the next step. You've taken it to the next level when it comes to these spots. I mean,
the Nexus level? The Nexus level?
The Nexus level. Here we are,
Let's do softball, baseball, because before it gets too deep in here. Softball this past weekend was swept by a very good Louisiana team. I just saw the top 25, and they are ranked 25th. They took the softball team, beat them in 3 games. They've got Georgia Southern coming up, who sits 4th in the Sun Belt with a 19-11 record overall. I think if I saw that correctly, y'all, I think Georgia Southern sits at 3-3 in conference play. Our team 18-14 overall, and I think they're 1-5 in conference play as we sit right now. So softball, we said it last podcast how they've got a lot of important road games coming up. They just saw Louisiana. but we knew Louisiana was going to be good. Joe, you brought up that they beat Oklahoma and ended that streak a while back. So we know what we're getting into. It's a strong softball conference, like TD referenced last time too. Now we're going to see Georgia Southern, who is doing pretty well this year too. So it's another good test for our team as they try to work their way up the standings. Georgia Southern appears to be kind of middle of the pack when it comes to the standing from what I saw not long ago.
Yeah, that's fair. Louisiana's really good. And they always have been. They've got a very strong softball program. And a couple of those games are close, right? 7-5, 3-1. We were right there in those two out of those three games. So hopefully, we can go to Statesboro, get us a couple of wins, kind of get back in the winning frame of mind, kind of like what we got the season off to a good start, winning a lot of games. Hopefully we can kind of get things back on track in Statesboro.
And coming into Statesboro, Davis is their leading hitter. She's batting .367 right now on the season. Home run wise is Jess Mazur. She has 6 home runs. RBIs, also Mazur leads the team in that. Pitching wise for the Eagles, Ansley Petit has a 1.46 ERA on the season. She's got 9 wins. They've got a lot of pitchers who are seeing a lot of action right now, but the 3 main ones that we're seeing stat-wise, Petit, Bernard, who is 3-2 with a 2.98 ERA, and then Bailey Holland with a 4.03 ERA. She's got 5 wins on the season. They seem like they're a pretty complete team when it comes to stats across the board. I didn't see anybody, frankly, who really stood out as far as one person dominating any kind of stat category. It seems like it's pretty spread out with Georgia Southern as we head into that series this weekend down in Statesboro.
It's interesting too. You look at the overall conference RPI too, to piggyback something. It's 7th overall, right? And then you look at it top to bottom. There's actually now, and looking at, I think Chili touched on it, but now since we last spoke, we had 5 teams inside the top 75. Now, since last week, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams right at 100 or better. 7 teams inside the top 100. That's not bad, boys. And again, Joe, to your point, Chili, again, we're sitting 1-5 in the conference, 18-14 overall. You dive into the numbers a little bit too. And I was looking at before we got on the show. Our RPI is 87. We fell off a little bit. We were 75th. Our strength of schedule is 83. And looking at that quadrant 1, quadrant 2, we have played. Let me get my math right here. We have played 15 games against quadrant 1 and 2. Currently, though, we are 2-13 against those, right? So, to my point earlier is we've got opportunity there. We just got to go out and win, man. Just got to go out and find a win here, find a win there. Like, you can't get swept, right? And that matters. So, at Georgia Southern, we've got to do that. Now, when we get back into baseball real quick, I've got some updates, too. I want to just kind of – or some highlights I want to touch on just real quick about baseball in the conference, just briefly. I don't know if we're segging to that real quick. I know we touched on it with Cats on a few things, but just conference overall, if you will. Joe, Chili, have y'all looked? I know you don't look too far on the road, but if you look past this weekend at ULM and then UNCW, go take a gander at the next 12 to 15 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what gets what's interesting is after ULM and UNCW, we don't play a game outside the top 100 until Marshall, which is the very end of the season.
That's a good stretch for us.
Yeah, Troy is at 120
there.
Well, Troy's at 124 RPI, but inherently they were like 167, and they keep following. And as they play more teams in the Sun Belt, they'll continue to come down.
So I can go ahead and seg into baseball because I got it already queued up here. As a point of reference, we got ULM coming up. Baseball right now is an RPI of 24 based on one of the polls I saw today. I know you look at Warren Nolan. I kind of go NCAA and kind of just, I guess, compare the two. You referenced a couple of players a while ago from ULM, Artsberger is hitting 400. Winfield has 7 home runs and Haggard 24 RBI. Orton seemed to me like he was the top of the heap when it came to the pitchers. He's 3-1 with a 4.63 ERA. And Robinson has 19 strikeouts. ULM on the season has an RPI of 169. I also saw 168 in a few polls, but that's, 168, 169, about the same, frankly. That's what I'm seeing from ULM as we head into that series for this coming weekend.
Yeah, it's you look at these guys, the thing I'm looking forward to, honestly, is on a serious note is how do we bounce back as a program? Second, will ULM come out in those sweet World War II airplane jerseys? Joe, you know what I'm talking about. Chill, you know what I'm talking. Y'all saw those, right?
Yep.
They broke them out late last year. They're like the olive drab with like the I don't even know what that is, man. On the they had football helmets just like them. It's like the fighter jet from like 1944 or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but they're fantastic.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm looking
the
forward
helmet
to.
looks really cool. It does.
They have baseball jerseys the same way.
Hopefully, we'll be in good enough health because we got to play this thing Thursday through Saturday. This isn't the Friday through Sunday series because of Easter. Hopefully, we'll get enough bodies, enough fluid back in them and enough, back to health that we'll be healthy enough and feeling good enough to go down there and play. That would be my first, first point of concern. And if we are, then, we play a team in ULM that's 2-4 in the conference right now, 13-11 overall. They lost their last two last weekend. So let's get some guys. Well, let's get them some fluids. Let's get them back on their feet and feeling good because I'm gonna have to drive from Atlanta over to Monroe. That's a little bit of a hike, but hopefully our guys will be up to the challenge on Thursday when this thing starts.
Looking forward to our guys bouncing back on the bump in the bullpen, man. That's what I'm excited about, man.
Yeah, me too.
Again, that look, we can come here with data. We can go through the breakdowns and who's batting 3-0 and who's going to be the star.
Yeah.
It goes bump and bullpen. Our team will go as the bump and the bullpen goes. Period. Right now.
Throw strikes, catch the ball, hit the ball, get the job done.
Well, hey, what's he saying, Bull Durham, boys? You hit the ball, catch the ball, you throw the ball. We got a 9-game road trip. Bus leaves at 6. Like, let's go, man. That's classic Bull Durham.
There's no better way to put that. I mean, seriously.
Crash Davis, you got to scare him. So, bump and bullpen, boys. We're going to score 8, 10, 12 runs on this team each time. We got to get bump and bullpen. That's what it boils down to right now. Cat said it best. There's no analysis that needs to tell us that.
Yep.
We saw it.
But there is an analysis, TD, that tells us you should probably seg Joe for coastal marketing.
I was getting to it. Wait a minute. I was getting to it.
There you go.
Now,
you got a couple of minutes left here. Couple of minutes.
If we wanted to talk about something to do fun with the family, Joe, what could be something that we can do after the family's gotten over the digestive bug, we've rehydrated, and we want to get back out there and some fun in the sun? Where can I take the kids and the family to have some fun?
All right, we're gonna change. Huh?
TD called an audible.
Myrtle Beach Family Golf, since we're going to do that one. Owned and operated by Coastal Alumni Golf Fund for everyone. We have 4 mini golf facilities and 1 driving range, Captain Hooks Adventure Golf, Jungle Safari, Jurassic Golf, Shipwreck Island Adventure Golf, and Cane Patch Driving Range. Myrtle Beach Golf. Myrtle Beach, golf fun for everyone.
God bless it. I totally jacked that up. That's on me, boys. That's on me. But where I should have said,
but I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this though, TD. How about this though? Now, if I'm gonna market this game, I'm gonna market this series coming up. I got a great hat. I got one of those helmets you're talking about. One of these uniforms to wear. I want to market it. Who am I going to talk to, TD?
I tell you, if you want to get one of these fantastic polos like I'm wearing right now, I can think of one man in one place. When I think of Coastal and I think of marketing, I think of Bob Baldwin, class of 2011. Bob's located down there with his family. They've been involved with the Strut Podcast now for over a year, as many of our sponsors have. But I tell you what, if you want to get a fantastic Strut Podcast polo like this or one of our fantastic hats, go visit him down at 475 Sandy Lane, Suite A, Surfside Beach, 29575. Give him a call at 843-349-4848 or check him out at www.coastalmarketinggraphics.com. Okay? Hey, if those aren't two of the most herky-jerky segs you've ever had, I don't know what is.
I love how you circle back on this. We started with herky jerky, and those two segs were about as herky jerky and stomach turning as any segs that we've had. But hey, it's all in good fun, right? We're having some fun, and we're plugging these sponsors, doing a great job of helping us with this podcast.
Man, I tell you what.
By way of wrap up, I need to kind of just heads up. Next week is going to be the announcement. I have been given the green light for the announcement next week.
Next week.
Next week.
Next
on
week.
On the next episode.
As the strut turns, huh? As the strut turns. Yeah, we'll see
a big announcement.
We'll see if Chili gets that promotion. We'll see if Nexus gets that bracket, and we'll see if TD can seg his ass off next time.
It'll be a Malox masher.
It'll be a Malox masher. Oh, God bless Cats, man, and that team. Hey, all seriousness, we can't get off the show. No, we got another minute. We can't get off the show. It's Easter weekend. Gentlemen, what's one thing you're blessed for?
Gosh.
I know there's many. What's one thing that comes to your mind that you'd like to say you offer a blessing?
A risen Savior, which we'll celebrate this weekend.
Absolutely. Chili?
Same thing. Absolutely. Risen Savior. And I've got a good family to celebrate that with.
Yep. So do I.
Hey, faith, family, friends, and opportunity to come on once a week and be excited and also have a little therapy session about Coastal Athletics.
And your dynamite segs.
And my dynamite segs.
That's it.
which may be a little herky-jerky, but that's okay.
Gentlemen, Chili, send us off.
Well, I think it's time for a shots up.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter. I hope the Easter Bunny's good to you.